In this Star Wars Battlefront 2 news update video, I will be sharing with you some updates on the game in relation to why it is blowing up right now over the past few days, plus when Kyber 2 will be coming out and a few other things relating to that and more. Before we do dive into all of today's news though, make sure you do subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any future Star Wars Battlefront 2 videos. So, in case you have been living under a rock over the past week or so, Battlefront 2 is experiencing a huge surge in players right now. Mostly on the PC version of the game, but there is just a wave of people desperate to get their Battlefront or Star Wars multiplayer fix. Yesterday saw the game reach 7,100 players on Steam concurrently, which is the highest it has been since early 2021, back when the game was made free on the Epic Games Store. With the game being free on the Epic Games Store less than a year after the final content update, it still had a lot of hype around it. People decided to jump in because, well, there were just so many people playing on the Epic Games Store version, which created tons of lobbies across the PC version. Some people don't really understand that the Epic Games Store, EA app, and Steam version are all the same version of the game. They're just played through different launchers. They still have to use the EA app to actually launch into the game, so you have the same population. Steam players play with Epic Games Store, play with EA app. It's all one system. For the longest time since launch, Steam has been the smallest amount of players on Battlefront. So when you see 7,000 people on Steam, that's not counting the Epic Games Store, which is of course the largest group of people, and the EA app. That doesn't even include the console player base, which is always larger, so that's thousands more people. That said though, if you do quadruple the Steam player count number, or even multiply it far more, it's still smaller than most of EA games. It's honestly nothing. Just a few 10,000 people is absolutely nothing, and the game is not making almost any money at all. It's probably losing money because the game was on sale. That's one of the reasons why it's doing so well on Steam, is that it cost just a few dollars last week. The cost of keeping servers up is not cheap. There is also maintenance that needs to be done in the back end occasionally. The game is not making any money. Just because a few thousand more people are playing the game more than usual does not mean Battlefront 2 is going to be coming back. The amount of money Battlefront 2 is bringing in right now in terms of sales is probably a lot less than a singular underpaid QA tester. That's it. The reason why this game is now doing so well is for a multitude of factors. All these smaller reasons added up have just created an organic, perfect storm for more people to hop into Battlefront 2. For example, May 4th, Star Wars Day. Usually around that time is just when people are just really into Star Wars. It's a seasonal thing, it happens every single year. People check out Battlefront and all the other Star Wars games. This has happened every single year. This is not a new phenomenon. Andor Season 2 has also just finished. It has been on for the past month. So people are watching something Star Wars related that they are very, very happy with, and they want to enjoy Star Wars in the video game form. Not only is Battlefront 2 doing very well, but also single-player games like Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order. Jedi Survivor has just recorded its biggest concurrent player count on Steam since a month after launch, back in 2023. People seem to think Battlefront 2 exploding is exclusive to Battlefront 2. No, it's happening across many Star Wars games. It's not just Battlefront 2, but it's just people finding their way of playing Star Wars, not just in Battlefront 2. Some people don't like multiplayer games. They are sticking with games like Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. For example, the videos that are actually doing very, very well on my channel right now aren't Battlefront 2 videos. It's actually guides I made back at launch for Jedi Survivor. Most of my top performing videos in the past week, getting thousands and tens of thousands of views, are actually Jedi Survivor videos or LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga or Star Wars Outlaws. Another reason why Battlefront is doing well is because of the re-release of Revenge of the Sith. Again, that ties into May 4th. It was out a week before May 4th, and it did very, very well, and people wanted their fix of Star Wars in gaming, and one of the best ways to enjoy Revenge of the Sith sort of stuff in games is Battlefront 2. May 4th also saw the return of Unlimited Power, the somewhat yearly but not always yearly event that should have happened on Jan 1st and May 4th. It doesn't happen every year, but someone at EA actually did turn it on for a few days, which was very nice of them. So veterans of the game that played back when the game was at its peak wanted to enjoy Unlimited Power, and it was on, which was very nice. It was more than just for a day. You also have Fortnite with their big Star Wars mini-season, which is very, very popular. It's breaking out, and honestly, it has done some stuff very, very well that I am surprised by. Fortnite is the free-to-play game that's more casual, so people that are just looking for something that's a little bit more realistic and just has a lot more content to offer will then turn to Battlefront 2. They are switching between Fortnite and Battlefront 2, and they're having their fix with the stuff they can't get in Battlefront 2 with Fortnite, but also they are going back to Battlefront 2 because it does stuff that Fortnite just can't compete on. I tweeted this out back when the Fortnite season began, and a lot of people did agree. So, like I said, the stuff Fortnite has done in terms of Star Wars is very good, but there are far too many people saying this is what Battlefront 3 should be. It does not have any of the core pillars of a Battlefront game, the ones that the franchise has followed since the beginning through to the very end. Many people have just lost sight of what Battlefront originally was, and still should be. If there were to be a new Battlefront game, it would need to stick to those core pillars. If it did not, then it wouldn't be a Battlefront game. You might as well just make a new multiplayer game, and that's one of the issues I think publishers are going to have or are having. Battlefront means a lot of things to different people, and if they don't cater to one portion of the player base, which believes Battlefront is this, then it's going to upset people and cause them a headache. And Fortnite is adding to this discourse where it's doing things that people think is Battlefront 3, but it actually isn't in any shape, way or form. There are just so many groups with different expectations of what Battlefront should be. DICE developers have said themselves that there were sort of two groups of players, two types of Battlefront players for the most part. The large-scale, objective-based, trooper and vehicle warfare kind that makes up, I would say, the majority, and those that were just wanting to play as their favourite Jedi or Sith or other iconic characters. So they would mostly just play heroes versus villains, and that's pretty much it. They are two polar opposite types of players. It split the player base, and it caused DICE a headache because they had to cater to both of these large groups of people. The problem is if you don't cater to one of them as much as they would like, they get upset and they get angry, and they are still a large part of the player base. It's so difficult that DICE and whoever takes up the mantle of the next multiplayer Star Wars game are just gonna have a lot of issues with. For example, ever since we got our hands on Battlefront 2015 and throughout Battlefront 2's life cycle, there has been sort of two camps of people saying Battlefront by DICE is too similar to Battlefield, and the other camp that is very much Battlefront needs to be far more like Battlefield. Both sides fully believe they are completely correct in what they say. There is no room for compromise on either side. Now, both sides can't be correct, so which is it? Even though each side fully believes exactly what they are saying and has done for the past decade. Some people really detest Battlefront for being too like Battlefield. Some people detest Battlefront for being too different from Battlefield. So what is it? This is the issue DICE faced, and whoever does decide to make the next multiplayer Star Wars game, be it Battlefront or something else, will also face. DICE's Battlefront games for me is a bit of a middle ground. It does stuff casually to cater to more players, which is what it needs to really be a success, and that's what it was. But also it does take some of DICE's best traits. That said, they could have gone more further in either direction. However, like I said, there are sort of two camps that are very much stern in their position and will not compromise on absolutely anything. They fully believe Battlefront is either Battlefield with a Star Wars skin, or that Battlefront is too different from Battlefield. And another factor to consider why Battlefront 2 is doing so well right now is that there is a void. There is no ongoing multiplayer Star Wars game aside from Galaxy of Heroes, Fortnite, and SWTOR. Battlefront 2 is the game people want to go back to. It's the type of game people want to play. It is the best-selling Star Wars game of all time. And if there was to be a new Battlefront game, it would be extremely successful. That said, it does come with a lot of issues, which I'm not going to get into. I could be here for like a whole hour explaining why Battlefront 3 doesn't make sense to a lot of publishers. The world is a mess right now. The games industry is in an even bigger mess right now. Publishers just don't want to take that risk. Making smaller games on new original ideas that aren't beholden to a license holder or approvals and things like that, and also not so expensive to make, just makes a lot more sense right now. If you aren't keeping up with the games industry, things are very dire right now. To make Battlefront 3, you would need around 5 years, $200 to $500 million, and thousands of people working on it. That's if you started today. There is no Battlefront in development right now, So if you started today, you wouldn't be getting a new Battlefront game probably for another 5 years, so 2030, and it would cost around $500 million to at least get into the same sort of content level that Battlefront 2 ended with, which is a sheer amount of content that no Star Wars game covering more than one era will ever replicate, in my opinion. It just is not feasible in this current landscape of games development. A smaller multiplayer game that isn't Battlefront, that isn't trying to be Battlefront, would be successful. Hunters, if it did come to console, if it did get that PC release like around now, if it wasn't cancelled, it probably would have done decently, but not enough because it was a mobile first game. If there was a game similar to Hunters that was more console focused, such as in the same vein as Marvel Rivals has done for that IP, then yeah, it would do very, very well. But Battlefront, there is too much expectation. People want it to be Battlefield with a Star Wars skin. People want it to be this super casual game where you can just play as Luke and Vader and do 1v1 dueling. It is so many different things. But that is one of the reasons why the game is still doing well 5 years after the final content update. It has so much to offer. It scratches the itch for different types of players. Those that want to do dueling, those that want vehicle gameplay, those that want to play third person or first person, or just be a trooper, or be a Jedi commanding troops and leading the charge on the battlefront, things like that. It really does have it all, which is one of the downfalls of it. One of the reasons why they weren't able to cater to all the player bases, because you had the Starfighter content, which was great, but not many people played. So naturally, DICE couldn't make content for it because they were very limited on resources. They had to cater to the big game modes and not the ones that no one really played. Even though people outcried on Reddit when things didn't get updated, but it was still a small player base. We know from DICE that most people only pretty much played Capital Supremacy, followed by HVV, and then some played Galactic Assault, and the rest was largely untouched. With this growth in players, it's created a bit of a snowball effect, so large streamers are playing it. For example, Lyric played it to 20,000 people last night. XQC did the same as well. Speaking of XQC, during the peak of Battlefront, he was actually playing it quite often on stream to 30 to 40 to 50,000 people. He even reacted to my videos, not necessarily reacted, but just watched it for information, which was quite an insane experience. Both XQC and Shroud are on the record for saying how much they love this game. They played it many times during the game's life cycle, even at launch, and even when the game ended as well. They still like it, but their viewers don't really like it. They turn off because it's Battlefront. It's the pay-to-win game they remember from several years ago. That's one of the other issues. Streamers don't stick to it because their audience hates this game, because it's pay-to-win, even though it never actually launched globally as pay-to-win. But again, that's just a whole other lie that the media and players that never wanted to play this game spread about this game, and ultimately doomed it from the very beginning. Yes, some people still believe this game launched with microtransactions. It did not. It was turned off hours before the global launch. You could not spend any money in-game until the progression update, which was purely cosmetic. And that was back in April 2018, several months after the game actually came out. It's so annoying that I still have to say this several years later, because people just never got the memo. They were lied to for several years by so many big content creators and the game's media. Inside this small community that is ever dwindling of Battlefront players, there is hype for Kyber, because that is the future of Battlefront. Yes, it's not on console, but people are ditching their consoles and buying a PC. PC is the future. They are switching, it's happening, whether you like it or not. The console player base is dwindling faster, whilst the PC player base is gaining more and more players, those moving on from console, switching to PC, and experiencing Kyber. I made a video a few weeks ago that talked about Wave 3, which did go live, and since then the Kyber team has provided an update on its release. So, they say they are committed to releasing Kyber for free at launch, and they estimate it to release by midsummer. This could change depending on how many new bugs playtesters find and how severe they are. There's still a lot of work to do, and they lay it out, so these are the reasons why they aren't actually releasing it just yet. There's a bunch of crashing happening, and they are fixing that. They also want to further streamline the setup flow. They want to improve server stability for players with high ping. The stats page needs to be finished. Various other improvements across the entire launcher for its UI, and a lot more. You have to remember that this is a project made by volunteers. Yes, they are being paid on Patreon for the upkeep of the servers, as they aren't cheap. Like I said, servers aren't cheap. It costs EA money to run Battlefront 2 servers and keep them going. They also don't want to release this project broken, because then it would spell disaster. We saw it with the Battlefront Classic Collection, and that was an official release. People checked out, it was broken on release, and now you can't even fill up one single half lobby. Even during this time where everyone's playing other Star Wars games, the Classic Collection is the one game pretty much no one's playing. There's actually over 6,000 players with free access through the beta test right now, and a bunch more thousands of people that pay for the Patreon. So there you have it. Midsummer is when they are targeting a release for Kyber, so just a few months away, because we are now towards the end of May. Another common question I've had asked is, where's Wave 4? When will Wave 4 happen? When will they accept more players that have signed up for the playtest? And they say that they are still actually working out if they even need more waves, so there may never be a Wave 4. The next big update about Kyber might be that it's out. We'll just have to wait and see. I also wanted to bring an update which will disappoint a small amount of people, but still people that care nonetheless, because I have had a bunch of comments about it. So at launch, Kyber 2 was not going to support Linux, so devices like the Steam Deck, but unfortunately it won't be supporting Linux. They did look into doing it, but they doubt it will ever happen now, so not totally unexpected. I very much would like to see Battlefront 3 happen one day, of course, or just another reboot, just anything, but the likelihood of that happening is next to none, because no matter how many times you spam EA or Disney or whoever on social media, it's not going to do anything. We've been through this before. There was a petition that was set up when the Scarif update dropped, and it had around 150,000 signatures, and Ben, the community manager at the time, explained that, yeah, it's meaningless, it's pointless, it doesn't do anything. Petitions don't do anything. So starting a new petition now and it just has a few hundred signatures is pointless. It doesn't do anything. We've had Star Wars game petitions in the past that have reached the goal set by a developer, and they never went through with them. This one is even a tougher task because it requires money. Unless you have, let's say, $300 million to spare in your bank account and 3,000 people available to work for you, you are not going to be able to get Battlefront 3 greenlit, whatever. You need to go to EA with the 300 million, say, here's 300 million to make Battlefront 2, and here's several thousand people to pay. It's not going to happen. People also forget pretty much everyone that worked on the Battlefront team has exited DICE. They left fairly quickly after they were told they won't be able to continue Battlefront 2 or get through their prototype of Battlefront 3. Just saying DICE make a new Battlefront game with the DICE that we have now doesn't make any sense, given that they are all in on Battlefield. The people that work there went to work for Battlefield, not for Battlefront. Yes, you could say bring back the old developers, but no, some of them have moved countries, they've got families. Things have completely changed. The world has changed in the past 5 years dramatically. You also just can't restart Battlefront 2 development because the game is over 5 years old since its last update. The tools that they use are outdated. People that worked on that game don't work at the company anymore, so processes have completely changed. There's just so many reasons, logical reasons, that this just will never, ever, ever happen. It's impossible. It's sad, but that is the harsh reality. And that's what we've got to do, is just deal with this void of a Star Wars game that, in the future, someone will come along once the industry sorts itself out a little bit and decides to take the risk. Right now, it's a big risk. People don't want to do it. There is a big nuke called GTA 6 impending to drop, and that's going to cause so much destruction in the industry, like the industry is already being destroyed right now for various other reasons. So it's not looking good at this moment in time for a multiplayer Star Wars game. We did get one. It died. It's gone. Well, it's going to be shut down in October. And it was actually fun, but it was mobile only, and, well, at least for the longest time. And when they did do a PC test, PC players just didn't turn up. They just weren't interested in that. They wanted Battlefront and not just another multiplayer Star Wars game. Like I said earlier in the video, this is also seasonal. So the player count will drop off in the next week or two. It's a sad reality, but that's the truth. It has happened every single year for the past 5 years. May 4th comes around, player count goes up a bit, and then the new players and those that came back just drop off. Similar things happen around Christmas time as well. That's just the nature of a game that doesn't get new content anymore and has a massive gap between skill. You have people like myself that have been playing since the very beginning, 7 years ago, that have got thousands of hours into the game, compared to those that are new and don't have everything unlocked and they are just getting destroyed. It's a sad reality, but that's just how things goes for games like this. That's not the only reason why the player count can't sustain itself. The people that do come back or have found it then just move on to other games or go back to the games they took a break from. Not everyone wants to play Battlefront 24/7. DICE developers have said themselves that even during the peak of the game, during the live service, a lot of people would come back for the updates, and then they would drop off, and then they would occasionally come back in between and then come back for the new updates. It was not a live service game like Fortnite, which people stick to and play constantly throughout the season. They sort of said it was more like a McDonald's, where it was a special treat to come back to and enjoy, but not something that they would, commit their life to effectively. Some of us did do that, but we're a little bit crazy and we found our game, but it just wasn't that type of game. It's not a Fortnite, it's not a Call of Duty, Madden or FIFA. I would love to hear your thoughts on anything I've talked about in this video. I would really appreciate it, and of course if you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like, subscribe so you don't miss any future Star Wars Battlefront 2 videos, including Kyber updates. And if you did miss any of my previous videos, click on the playlist on screen right now, and I shall see you in my next video. Goodbye.